Hey, Justin. You're still muted. You're muted as well, Justin.
There we go.
There you go. I can hear you now, Justin.
Thank you.
Todd, you're still muted. You're down in the lower left corner.
There, got me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. New computer, I'm just learning.
That's Kathy yet. And I got 7 o'clock, but I think Kathy's going to be joining. She did not indicate that she wasn't. Matt Duday said he's got a school board meeting. Let me text her real quick. Oh, there she is. She's coming on now. There you are. You're still muted, Kathy. Should be on the lower up. There you go.
All right, can you hear me now?
Okay, yep. We have everybody in attendance, so I will call the meeting to order. Everybody should have gotten a copy of the agenda and meeting minutes in advance. So without objection, I'll ask unanimous approval. There are no objections, so agenda and minutes are approved. Next order of business is the election of the chair and co-chair, since this is a new year and new board. Well, the same members, but it's technically a new board, so we need to elect a chair and co-chair. I'll volunteer for chair unless somebody wants it. If there's other nominations. No? All right. I guess we'll call for a vote. on election of Jeff Corbel as the chair for the zoning commission. All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, co-chair. And volunteers? And nominations?
I would like to nominate Justin.
Okay, is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay, any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. We'll vote on Justin Faber as co-chair for the zoning commission. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And Justin is the co-chair.
Just means you can't be gone.
Okay. So hopefully everybody understands what the supervisors have asked us to do is give our thoughts and recommendation on the size of the zoning commission. The zoning commission is specified as 5 members in the zoning ordinance. And since that would be, if there's going to be a different number, then the zoning ordinance has to be changed. And any changes to the zoning ordinance has to be originated by the zoning commission. So they've asked us what our recommendation is for number of people from the county that should be members of the zoning commission, and if there are any other particular rules and such. I went online and spent a fair bit of time. I didn't look at all the counties in Iowa, but I looked at every county with less than 10,000 people. And then I looked at the 15 largest counties in Iowa and the counties that are surrounding us to see if there was any kind of a pattern on number of zoning commission members based on size of the county or in relationship to the number of supervisors. You know, some counties have 5 supervisor seats. Some counties have 3. It's just dependent on what the counties have determined. And what I found is the vast majority of counties of the 37 that I looked at, like I said, the largest 15, all of them under 10,000, and those that surround us. It's a mixture of 5 to 7. Now, there are some counties that had an odd number, like Lucas County has 2. Louisa County has 8. Mitchell County has 6. Floyd County has 4. There was another one I thought. Black Hawk had 6, but everybody else had 5 or 7. And there's absolutely no relationship to the number of zoning commission members based on the size of the board of supervisors. So it's completely random. And there was a couple of counties that I saw of the 37 I looked at. Buchanan had 9. Louisa County, as I said, had 8, but everybody else was 5 or 7. So just as some information.
So my question is, what would the quorum be if we had 7 then?
Good question.
So if the quorum,
Right.
we'd have to have 4.
Okay. So I guess this is my feeling that, we kind of ran into people being being quite busy when we really needed them. So maybe going to 7 wouldn't be a bad idea, because then we'd have more bodies that could be present if needed.
Right. Yeah. And there were a couple of counties that said they're supposed to have 7 members, but they had 1 or more vacancies. Like we've got a vacancy right now.
Right.
So is it 4 just to make a quorum or 4 based on that 7-member level?
4 based on the 7 member.
Okay. Thanks for getting that information because I was curious about that. And I kind of agree with Kathy. I talked to some of the members of our county, and one of the interesting thoughts was if we could have 6 members with the chair being the 7th and the chair only voting in a tiebreaker situation. I thought that was pretty interesting. Then, of course, the question was, how do you divide up the 6 people?
Okay,
was-
so I'm chair of public health, and I vote.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
there-
Robert's rules says if groups of 12 or less,
Right,
then it's common for the chair to vote.
Right.
right. It was just some input from the public that they was just trying to keep things balanced through the county to try to keep 7 people, 6 people voting, and try to make it more of a rule that even though it's proper in Robert's rules for the chairperson to vote, which I understand that, to keep them out of voting unless it is a tiebreaker situation. Obviously, you're still going to have input and everything. It was just an interesting input. I know at one time we talked about, we have 12 townships, but I just think that many people is really inefficient and hard to get meetings to put together.
Yeah, I think one per township would be a challenge. If there were, right now, the only thing that the zoning ordinance talks about is that it would come from the zoned areas of the counties, which means it's the unincorporated areas of the county.
Mhm.
So it would not include, somebody could not be on the county board of zoning commission if they lived, say, in the town of Northwood.
And
Because
I
that's
I
an
know,
incorporated area. One of the discussions that the supervisors have been having when they were talking about filling the David seat is, they were rattling off that, Mark's got a couple of people from his supervisor district, and AJ has one. Should they have rules? This is something for us to discuss. Should they have rules that say X, N number of people from each supervisor district to make certain that it's spread out? Enos had talked about, he thought that it was important that somebody from Heartland Township or that, very close vicinity was on the zoning commission because of, all of the commercial aspects up and down the interstate there. And so those are some of the things I think we should talk about in addition to what, is there a particular number that we think that the zoning commission should have? And are there any other rules other than coming from the unincorporated areas of the county? Should we say that there's got to be representation from each of the supervisor districts, those kinds of things?
I know we did have discussion about that earlier, about trying to pull in from the rest of the county when we tried to move this to countywide zoning.
Mhm.
And along with that, because this is a volunteered commission and trying to get people to come in and fill these shoes, I think we really want to be careful and keep this open to as many people to qualify as we can, and less of a focus on where they come from so that we get quality people or the right people, and less of a focus on how many people per supervisor or where they actually come from in the county, meaning a quality number of applicants more so than being able to handpick who gets on a panel,
Mhm.
especially by certain people. So you can't stack the deck, so to speak. We get a better cross section of ideas that way.
Well, and I think if it was a requirement that all three supervisor districts, that there was somebody, at least one person, from each of the supervisor districts. Now, if you say, if there's 5 people on the board and 3, one has to be from supervisor district 1, district 2, and district 3, and then, find 2 more people. Or
Right.
if we think 7 people is the right amount, do we say 2 from each supervisor district, or is it still just 1 from each supervisor district and then find 4 more people?
Well, one of the things that, and I'm just talking, I'm just
Yep, that's all I'm
ideas right
doing.
now. We've had instances where there's people that's shown interest in being on the commission, and in the last couple of years, it can be quite a handful. It's not like it used to be. And to have people that are willing to take on that workload, and then maybe they don't get turned, maybe they don't get accepted because of political reasons or or whatever. We do got to talk this out and share different ideas. So one of the things that I thought about with this, what you were just talking about, Jeff, with a couple different people from every district is, and I'm not sure how to do this, but in this county, we're predominantly an agricultural zone district, and we have protected agricultural as our number one thing. And we've got a lot of verbiage in our county that protects agriculture. And for example, if you want a COFO or whatever, that's even out of our hands. It's already protected at the state level. And then on our level, we've already protected a lot of agricultural things, which is just obviously correct. But where I'm coming from is where my ideas is where you want to start splitting up representation. I start thinking of people more like myself, where yes, I've got an agricultural background, but there's a lot of people out here that are maybe from town or from a non-ag or non-commercial ag, I'll call it, meaning not large ag, but maybe an acreage type of person. Do we need to start looking more as splitting up more as a commercial seat and a non-commercial ag seat, or an acreage owner seat, to add those extra couple of positions to keep the diversification open, to protect the people of the county, to keep the
I think I,
diversification
under,
open?
I think I understand what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd have to be really careful that we don't start
Mm-hmm.
splitting stuff up so
Could get
discreet
difficult.
that you can't find anybody to
Right.
fill anything.
Right.
So with the supervisors, I mean, with the commissioners that we have on our board now, do each of us represent a supervisor? Because I would be under
No.
AJ.
No, we don't represent the supervisors or the supervisor district, really.
No, I'm just saying, how many of us are within a district of what supervisor?
Oh, so right now,
I'm under Mark.
yeah, I'm under Mark.
And I would be under
Mark's got-
AJ.
Yep,
Mhm.
so Mark's got 3 representatives. AJ has 1, and there's nobody from Enos district right now.
So what's Justin under then? Mark as well?
It's Mark. Yeah.
Okay.
And that being said, I think we've got a pretty good diversification, and I liked having Kathy in here because we're getting spread out a little bit more, but it's not always about your location in the county as it is your ideals, because all 3 districts have agriculture in them, for example. For Enos's big concern, I know one of his things that I've heard him talk about in the last few months is, somebody that lives close to the casino. I don't know that we really got to have somebody that lives close to the casino to really be familiar with it. but that's one of what I think, I don't want to speak for him, one of his concerns is representation for somebody that lives close to the casino, which is, like why my seat was originally available or that I'm on it because I'm close to the interstate. It was a zoned area, which is where we started out with this in the first place.
Right.
And so then it goes back to a populated seat versus a non-populated seat. Manly, Allentown, Northwood, no matter whose zone that's in or whose jurisdiction that's in.
I guess I'm more concerned about, I don't know if we need to worry about the jurisdiction we're in. I would like open-mindedness.
Correct. Absolutely.
And I think, like Jeff said, to get somebody to serve isn't always going to be easy, especially if it's going to be controversial.
Right. I agree. That goes back to what I was saying earlier. To get quality people, no matter where they're at, I think as this goes forward, if we keep everything as open as we can somehow, because I'm just sharing ideas, they're naturally over time going to come from different places around the county, coming and going at different times, different board members anyway.
I mean, because we have to keep in mind too, well, there's lawsuits. Everybody's crazy about that. There's probably going to be a lawsuit because of the ordinance that we made. We need to be mindful of those things as well.
So another idea that I had talked about in the past when we was talking about this is we already have township trustees in place. Is there some way where we can pool on those people for input or as an automatic in? Whether
Now,
it's just
we can't do anything with or really about the trustees that that would formally associate the trustees to zoning.
Right.
I mean, they have their responsibilities that are laid out by law. We have our responsibilities that are laid out by law. The expectation is that while we're performing our duties, considering zoning changes and ordinance updates and things of that nature, that we're talking with a variety of stakeholders on whatever that issue is. And then, of course, we've got the public comment as well. So I mean, we can always reach out to them, ask for input and things of that nature. But I don't think there's anything that we can do to tie them with the commission itself. So I guess just to move this along, so right now we've got 5. I think there's a number of us have commented about challenges when we've got a lot of stuff to do in getting enough people. I know that we felt uncomfortable in the past when we've taken action with a quorum of 3. If we had 7 members, that's one more for a quorum. So we would have to have a quorum of 4. But it does give additional input and formal vote on the issue. So just trying to take these things one at a time. What's the general consensus of should we recommend 7 as opposed to 5?
So I guess what I'll say is when this all started, or when I got your email, I thought we'd just stay at 5 for the simple fact of trying to get people to run. It's going to be hard to fill positions. But then when Kathy, I thought, and Todd both made a really good point about, I've been guilty of being gone and stuff. So it does make more sense to probably have more just to get a quorum. But I still am still leery of how many people will actually want to be on board.
Yeah, I am as well. And I made the observation there's counties that, when I was doing my research looking at them, they said 7 members. And then you look at their list of members and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names and then vacant, vacant. So, and, we're vacant right now. We've got 5 members, but we're short one. I think they'll get one appointed. There's a number of names I think that they've talked about. Um, and if the ordinance says that the zoning commission is made up of 7 members and they can only five or six people, well, that's all they can find. So to your point, Justin, I think it's true. They do have difficulty in finding people sometimes. But if we can fill the slate of 7, would that be better than a slate of 5?
Well, I don't think anybody should have to feel guilty. I mean, especially like Justin and David Quisley, it was farming. That's beyond their control.
Exactly.
I mean, when it's time to go, it's time to go. So there should be no guilt on those people at all.
Right. Yeah. And I think Todd made the point earlier, we're a very agricultural oriented county.
Right.
And even if we have 7 members, we could run into a similar issue. We have stuff that we got to get done during harvest season. And if we've got 7 members, that doesn't mean it's going to be any easier to try to find a time that everybody can get together.
So what was the supervisor's reasoning for thinking maybe we should go to 7? Did they tell you?
They did not. And I don't know why, but they're not they're not posting their videos. And so those early sessions when they were talking about expanding, I didn't sit on the meeting, so without the video being available, I don't know what their rationale is.
No, I was just curious.
Yep.
I was the same curiosity, Kathy. So I was the same way.
Yeah. I can try to explore that more with them to try to find out what their rationale was. Because whatever we come up with recommendation, we're going to have to schedule a public hearing and get public input on our recommendation because it's a change to the ordinance. And then we'll have to have another meeting after that public hearing where we finalize our recommendation. So between now and then, I can pick their brains a little bit and try to get insight as to why they think they want a bigger board. And when it gets down to it, it's their decision. If they want to do it, doesn't matter what we say.
I wish we had input on getting 5 supervisors rather than more people.
Amen.
Because
I agree.
That is a
100%.
huge issue because quite honestly, I think this is, forgive me, I have a high respect for all 3 of our supervisors, but I think this is a power play more than how many people we really need on this commission.
Yeah, I do as well. I think that 5 members on the Board of Supervisors is much more important than the question of 5 or 7 on the Zoning Commission.
With the rumor mill of a couple of suspected people ready to go on this commission right now and a couple of people that maybe has been turned down lately, and the fact that our meetings and the supervisors' meetings are not making the light of sunshine and being broadcast for the public, man, I think that's the first thing that should be addressed and not how many people are on this commission.
Yeah.
And that is a countywide thing that's being talked about. Nobody can see what's going on. We got a problem.
They can. I mean, the sunshine laws require that they're open meetings. Our meeting is open. Anybody can join it. Our agenda is posted at the courthouse and online, so anybody can join the meeting. It's just for whatever reason, they're not posting the videos anymore.
Well, right. And so we might be making the legal minimum requirements, but we're not doing what we used to do for the citizens of Worth County, and that's an issue.
Yeah.
By that, I mean, in case anybody's listening or whatever, you can't get online and watch our meetings later on, and especially with the supervisors, because I think that would tell this story without us gossiping.
Yeah. All right. So, I'm kind of the same mind coming into this as you were, Justin. I looked at it and says, what's wrong with 5? And my research on the counties, it's all over the board, 5 or 7. Um, I I think if we can get 7 people, the more the merrier. Well, to a point. I think getting more than 7, 9 or something like that, it would start getting onerous just trying to corral everybody. But I don't see an issue with 7. So
Right.
I guess I'll just ask so that we have some basis to get a recommendation down. Does anybody feel strongly that it should be 7?
I have another input about that first.
Okay.
The difference between 5 or 7. Right now with 5, a quorum is 3.
Yes.
And if we go to 7, a quorum is 4.
Yes.
And it's a little bit of trickery because we think that if we go to a staff size of 7, that it's going to give us more people to be able to make decisions. But quite honestly, that's requiring us to have one more person available during busy times to make a quorum and get business done. When right now, truthfully, we're having trouble getting 5 people coordinated to keep meetings going, and keeping 5 people on a commission. Adding spots just increased the quorum. It didn't exactly keep us more efficient. It's hard to schedule meetings as is.
Right.
So I don't know that adding spots to the roster is helping our problem at all. I would love to have more people, absolutely. But I don't think, because it increases the quorum, I don't think it increases our efficiency. I think it does just the opposite.
Yeah, and a point just came to mind while you were talking too, when you made the observation about the difference between the quorum of 3 and the quorum of 4. It comes to me that if we have 7 members and the quorum of 4, or 4 people satisfy a quorum, it's possible that we could have a tie on a vote, in which case the vote fails.
Good point.
I'm wondering if that would be doing kind of a disservice, kind of defeats the purpose a little bit, where maybe if we say 7 members are what the commission should be made up with, but if we establish a rule that the quorum is 5, so it has to be at least 3 to it guards against a failure of something because of a tie.
So Jeff, do we have the ability to set a quorum at 3, even with 7? We can change that. That's not against.
Yeah, we just write that in with the rule. There's a paragraph in the ordinance that talks about the members, and we can write the rule in there that in order for a vote to be held, a quorum requires at least 5 of the 7 members present.
Well, I know not to muddy the waters, but in the first example that I mentioned tonight, that some members of the public had mentioned having 6 members and the chair not voting unless a tie. That was kind of the reasoning behind that. But you're resurrecting that now with this situation. And now I like that idea of having more members, but keeping the quorum small, so that in times of need and busy people or less members able to show up, we can still be efficient and move things forward. I like that.
With the quorum of 5?
With the quorum being still smaller, but having extra seats on the panel.
So then my question is, if we do decide to go with more people on the panel, are we going to have more opinions and harder to get things done.
Yes,
That's
Yep.
the other thing.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
That's okay.
That's the other thing we need to think about.
Yeah,
But that's where our votes come in. And, at the end of the day, we vote.
and that's why I think a quorum, if there's 7 members, I think we should establish the quorum at 5. Just simply so that if we've only got 4 people that show up, if there's a tie, that vote is held and it fails, that's done. And we might have the 2 people that couldn't show up would have voted in the affirmative. We don't know. But so if we have a quorum established at 5, then it's going to be a majority vote in the affirmative in order for something to pass, or majority vote in the negative in order for it to fail. But it's a positive
Right.
vote, not a happenstance.
Eliminating the
vote.
tie unless somebody abstains from voting, which I've done a few times.
Yeah,
Well, and we have to have a quorum to even be able to have a meeting, correct?
yes,
Mhm.
Okay, so I mean, if we wouldn't have a quorum, then we couldn't have a meeting over something.
correct.
But then we're going back to now we had more bodies to try to coordinate a meeting and more bodies to try to make a vote and more opinions to try to get together. And what if you get another person that's as argumentative as me?
Yeah, but if we go back to this fall, where we needed to have some meetings and we needed to have some votes. If, let's say, we had David and Justin doing field work again, and the 2 extra people to take us to 7 members, we're also actively farming.
Right.
Still a chance that at least, 1 or 2 of them might have been able to join the call. Like David did the one time, Justin did from the tractor one time.
For everything I've heard, leave it the way it is. We want more representation. I don't think this is the right way to do it.
No, because you need a higher percentage of people to be there to have a quorum if you go to 7.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we aren't changing anything and staying at 5, why do we have to have a public hearing? Because it was recommended to us?
No, if we don't change anything, well, I guess I got to look into how that works, because we're not changing anything, so there wouldn't have to
We might
be a
still have
public
to have
hearing.
public input.
We would just have a report back to the supervisors
Yep.
saying that the zoning commission looked at it and we thought that 5 was the right number for the following blah, blah, blah reasons. And then take it away, supervisors.
Whether it's us or the supervisors, somewhere is there still a possibility for public input?
If the
Even if we don't-
supervisors decide that they want to go to 7, then they have to have a public hearing to change the ordinance.
But we don't have to have it just because we don't want to change it.
That's right, because we're not making a change. So Kathy's point is valid. If we're not changing anything, we don't need a public hearing. We just need a report back to the supervisors.
Well, I kind of like it the way it is.
Okay, somebody want to put that in the form of a motion?
Hold on, before we do that, can we do form of a motion as is with the recommendation of 5 supervisors?
You betcha. Look at that.
I think we all think that, but I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of the county budget, and
True.
I don't think that's going to happen this year.
Yeah, yeah. I admire the thought, but I think that's outside of our purview.
Had to try.
Right.
Yeah, so the zoning commission goes back and recommends, we stay the same as 5, and you guys need to add a couple more.
Yep. They won't
Well,
ask
if we're
us.
not making a change, do we even need to vote on anything?
Well, yes, because it is a,
So we need to show that we passed or failed it or what we did.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I would make a motion that we remain at five commissioners on the zoning commission.
Okay,
Before we
second
second that, do we
sorry.
want to say where people are, not necessarily where they're coming from, but do we want to have districts represented evenly or not?
I
I'd say
think that would be a separate discussion.
Okay, and that's
So
fine.
so Kathy made the motion for 5 members, and I think both of you guys.
I think Todd seconded.
Todd
Yeah, Todd
seconded. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the table to make a recommendation to the supervisors that the zoning commission stay at 5 members for the reasons that we've discussed, and I'll put that in an email to you guys so you can take a look at the rationale. So all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so that's unanimous. So to your question, Justin, should we include a recommendation? Now, this may require us to have a public hearing. If we decide that we want the ordinance to require that there's representation from each of the 3 supervisor districts. Because right now, only 2 of the 3 are represented, and I know Enos had submitted. He had made a motion for somebody from his district that AJ and Mark voted against, and so a couple of weeks later, he made another motion to nominate somebody from his district, and that failed for lack of second.
What happened to when we couldn't get anybody here and they wanted anybody? Or am I mistaken that it's never really been that way?
Well, no, there's times they've struggled finding folks. And to be fair to the supervisors, I think the reason that Enos' second nomination failed for lack of a second is because at least one of the supervisors wanted to wait and see, well, how many seats are we filling? Is it just the 1 seat, or are we going to be filling 3?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I think it would be good if there was somebody from each of the supervisor districts on the board. Or, yeah, if each of the supervisor, all 3 of the supervisor districts were represented in the zoning commission. Yeah, that's 3, and then they find 2 other people from somewhere in the county.
So help me out here a little bit, Jeff. Are you suggesting that if we put in a suggestion that we add some sort of terminology that says if we're to add any more seats than the 5, that we ask that anything over that are at least a seat from each
No,
district?
No. I'm suggesting that the current language be updated to say that the zoning commission should have membership from each of the 3 supervisor districts.
Right. That's simple, and yes.
Doesn't matter how many zoning commission members there are, but the commission is represented by somebody from each of the 3 districts.
That's a good step forward to getting countywide representation.
It is, but what happens if you have nobody interested in one district? Then what are you going to do?
Yep.
I
Yes,
always
very good.
then we're back to where we are right
guys.
now. That's why I was wondering if it's got to be more than 5 that you got to start adding from the odd district, or I don't know. That doesn't solve the problem then. Yeah. Then like I said, do we got to
Supervisor districts are
obligate a trustee from
the
that
supervisor
district?
districts are pretty decently sized. I would hope they'd be able to find at least one person from each district.
I suppose we could just let them do that and, leave it as be. And then hopefully the supervisors will say, like Enos in this case right now, I have no representation. I would like somebody, if there's 2 of them running, or 2-1 on or 3-1 on. But then again, you have to go with the best I don't want to say qualified, but the one who's going to work the best, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too, that just comes to me in support of what you just said, Justin, is each of our terms are up at a different time. So it's not like they all show up in January of every year and say, okay, I found 1, I found 1, I found 3, I found 1. It would be a situation where, right now, Kathy's the only one from AJ's supervisor district. So if her term came up, they would have to find somebody from his district.
There is no
nominate Kathy if she's willing to do that, or find somebody else from that district. So maybe it's more of a goal than a rule.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Exactly.
Like maybe put in there, we've decided to stay with this. It is our recommendation. If we could have one from each district, that would be best case scenario.
Not required, but preferred.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all we have then. So we're going to recommend that the zoning commission stay at 5 members. One, just because we don't see that getting 7 members is going to solve any of the problems that we've had when we've had challenging times trying to find time that we can get everybody to meet. We still are going to have a low number for quorum unless we make it artificially high, which gets us back to the original problem of trying to find a time that everybody can meet. And we still have public input on any of the changes that we recommend. So the entire county has an opportunity to lend their voice to us. And separately, we think that it should be a goal that each of the 3 supervisor districts are represented on the zoning commission. We didn't feel that it was appropriate to make that a rule in the ordinance just because of the challenges finding people that are willing to serve, but it should be a goal if possible. So does that pretty much sum up what we've discussed and the result of the vote of 5?
Well said. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I will tap something out and get it to you. And I can't get this to the supervisors because I didn't know if we were going to be able to come to a conclusion tonight or not. So I didn't get on their agenda. for Monday, and I have to get on the agenda by Thursday prior. So I'll get this stuff out to you, and then I will get on their agenda. Monday.
Would it be appropriate or inappropriate to add something in there about when it comes to representation and getting help about the televising of these things like it used to be? So people know what we're dealing with?
Oh, just publishing the recording.
The recorded meetings, yeah. Is that something separate we as a commission can, as a new business item here, add to the list to put on their agenda? Or in our suggestions to them?
How about I just bring it up as a separate thing?
Yes,
myself,
That's
while
what I
I'm
think.
there?
yes.
Because
That's
it's
what I didn't know
really
if it would be
outside the scope of zoning.
a new business
So-
item from us, yes.
Yeah, so I'll just, I'll take that up on my own when I'm there.
Yeah.
Just a comment that we'd like to see our recordings
Yeah,
posted.
and I didn't know if
online again.
since I'm saying that, if I have the support of everybody here in saying that through you.
Yeah, I
Does that-
think everybody, Justin and Kathy were both nodding. It
Yeah.
would be good if they were posted.
Yeah, okay. So I didn't
Okay.
know if we needed a movement on that, or I just wanted to make sure that that's not just you, or that I'm getting a favor from you, that it's we,
Yeah.
the
And
zoning commission.
I'll check separately and see if I can find out why it's not been getting posted.
Well, I don't know if something changed at the county level or what, because like when we were doing our public health meetings, they used to be recorded and then they weren't anymore. So I don't know if there was a change or whatever. So I think it would be just like a good question to ask the supervisors.
Yeah, well, they're getting recorded because they're on Zoom. I think what's
Right.
happening is the recordings just aren't getting posted.
Oh.
The videos they're just not posting the recording. And I don't know why.
There's a lot of rumors. We need to quit with the rumors and the excuses, and
Yeah, so I'll ask into that question. See if I can find out why the recordings aren't getting posted and see if we
Okay.
can get that done. Okay. All right. That's all I have for now. I haven't said anything yet for the subdivision ordinance that Teresa wanted us to look at. I've been waiting for them to settle on what is our zoning commission. So once this is all settled and we've got our full zoning commission, just keep in mind that Teresa Olson wants us to go through the subdivision ordinance and refresh it and make sure it's not confusing.
So how
Yeah.
soon will that be?
Well, how soon are the supervisors gonna get us our figure out how many members they're gonna have and fill that slate? So,
Okay, because I got a couple trips coming up, so.
Sure. Yeah, it'll probably be, when do you start planning, Justin? The end of April?
Yeah. End of April, so it'll probably be May 1st, right?
Yeah,
Yep. Okay, all right, thanks, everybody.
right.
Without objection, the meeting is adjourned.
all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.